Okay, maybe we'll get started then. I want to thank you all for coming today. Today's topic is going to be on scams and cyber threats by myself, Tom Kreuzer. We'll talk about how to spot some of the scams and threats. We'll talk about things that you can do, whether it's with security and password management, and then lots of other tools and tips to help keep you safe. Let me go back a little bit here. So this fits into our Learn About series. First, a little background of myself. I'm known as Tom, the PC guy, because I have the personalized license plate, PC guy. I'm the son of John Kreuzer here at Carondelet, and John's in back there. I retired after 40 years at 3M from information technology. I think it's going on almost 5 years ago. But I'm still very active with the 3M Personal Computing Club. I've been an officer, president, membership of all the different positions there. I've been involved with them for over 40 years. And at its peak, we had 1,200 members at 3M. We still have 140. I think we're down to 140 now, which is still a lot of people. It's the largest club still at 3M. I do offer free computing help, so questions and things like that, certainly you can get in contact with me. I know you've got, I think, Teddy on Tuesday that comes by and that, but if you do have questions or comments or anything, you can get in touch with me, and I'll show you how to get in touch with me too. There's information on the handout and then on the website also. I mentioned here that I'm thrifty, I'm not cheap, so if there's inexpensive way to do things or that, I usually look for the cheaper way to do things there. The next topic that I'll be presenting in August 23rd, this is the first time I've diverted from more tech type things. This will be Kodak cameras. I happen to collect Kodak cameras. I go to a lot of garage sales over the years. For the last 60 years, I've gone to garage sales. I have almost every Kodak camera that's ever been made. And Kodak started back in 1888, and they ceased making cameras in 2012. But we'll talk about the Kodaks, and I'll bring a whole bunch of cameras too. So I'm sure there'll be models that people have used and had as kids or adults and stuff like that. So it's kind of fun to see there. And we'll talk about kind of the history of photography there. Also, along with my sister and brother-in-law, we put on a Fix-It clinic. We just had one on Monday. So we do it about every 2 months. So we'll probably be doing another one. The date hasn't been set yet, but we'll do it in September. When you see the signs go up, you can sign up down at the table. And for a slot, we have 15-minute slots, and we attempt to fix just about anything that you've got broken. Small appliances, lamps, electronics, mobile devices. So if you have questions on a phone or an alarm clock or whatever isn't working, you can bring it and we'll try and fix it there. We have added, or I've added out on the Carondelet website, there is information out there, both the calendar for when the Fix-It clinics are, when the presentations are, and I try and add in the one-on-one help that's available also. Also, I have out there resources, and these resources, in the resources I list the upcoming meetings, but this is an important resource with the past meetings. So if you've missed any of the meetings or want to revisit any of the meetings, you can go out to this past meetings here, and you can get any handout that I have and watch the video. So just like today, I'm recording the screen that you see on here and my voice, and that's available to watch anytime for any of the past meetings that we've had for the last couple of years there. I also have an FAQ section out there, frequently asked questions. And if you want to ask a question, it sends a note to me. And so that's another way that you can contact me if you want. Okay, we'll get to our main topic today, which is scams and cyber threats. In the classic musical production, The Music Man, the con man, Harold Hill, frightens the townsfolk into believing that they've got trouble right here in River City. Once he has them quaking in their boots, he's right there with a solution for a price. Grifters and con men show up everywhere, including the world of technology. So they've been around forever. Technology just makes it a lot easier to do now. There's many different types of scams, but all scams kind of fall into these general categories that we'll talk about. They try and convince you to send money or enable access to financial accounts. In the end, they want to get at your bank accounts and have you send them cash or credit cards or things like that. Today, scammers use phone calls, so you get calls. I'm sure we've all been bothered by the phone ringing, and it's not anybody you know, but they're trying to sell you something there. Emails, we get text messages. If you browse the internet out on websites, there's stuff out there, there's pop-up ads, and even in the postal mail, you'll get scams. So almost everywhere you turn, there's these scams. Unfortunately, most scams don't have a happy ending like you have in the movies. Professor Hill isn't going to teach your kids to be in the band and the money went to a good cause. No, most of these scammers take your money and run, and you have no recourse to get the money back. So let's talk about some of these scams. The most popular scam that's out there is phishing. And phishing is it's trying to fool people into something. And so you may get an official-looking email, a telephone call, and the telephone call says it's from the Social Security Agency, or a text message or a website that says that your account has a problem, it's been hacked, it's going to be shut down, there may have been fraudulent charges on your account, or you've won a prize. Could be any number of these. The objective of the person scamming you is to get you to click on a link, or if they have a telephone number, to call them, or open an attachment to give them your account information, potentially your password and your financial information. In 2022, consumers in the United States lost a staggering $10.3 billion to scammers, according to the FBI. So that's why we get all these scams, because if the scammers weren't making money, people would find other ways to get your money. But it's so lucrative for them to get money that you have these things. And this is in a little example here. And this is from Trusted Bank, but it could be from, let's say, U.S. Bank or Huntington Bank locally here. And it says, "Dear valued customer, we have received notice that you have recently attempted to withdraw the following amount from your checking account while in another country, $135. If this information is not correct, someone unknown may have access to your account. As a safety measure, please visit our website and the link below to verify your personal information." Then it looks like you're going out to U.S. Bank or wherever your bank account is. You click on it, it asks you for your account and password, and this is the way the scammer steals your information and then is able to log into your account. So whenever you see anything like this, the first thing, if it's a telephone call or that, hang up. Do not click on any link. So if it's an email or a website or a text message that you get, don't click on any link. You want to use, if you want to test to see whether that's actually from your bank. If there is a problem with your bank account, use an alternate method to contact the company that sent you the email or is supposedly trying to call you. Don't use the phone number in the email that was sent to you or click on anything in the email. If you look at your past bills, a statement, or if you have old bookmarks in your browser, use those to go out to the website or to contact, like in this case, U.S. Bank or Huntington or that. You can call them up and talk to them, but at least you're assured there that you're talking to the company and not talking to some scammer. Okay, the second most popular scam is what's called tech support scams. And this is where you receive an unexpected call, or you may be on your computer and you see a pop-up message on your computer warning you of an issue. That issue may be a virus, malware, or the device is not protected. The caller or pop-up claims to be from tech support and asks for access to your computer to fix the issue. Typically, the scammer will ask you to type specific commands to enable this access. Once they have control of your computer, they may require payment for technical assistance. They may install malicious software. They may change settings to leave your computer vulnerable. They may try and sell you unneeded software or ask you to log on to your bank account to steal your financial information. And this is just a little example here of a couple of little pop-ups that they make them look official. So it could be Apple on here, it could be Microsoft, and it's saying, I'm warning you that your machine is compromised and you have to click on a link here. So beware of these scammers impersonating a tech support company, a fraud department, or a government agency. Never give them control of your computer or log on information. Okay, this is some other scams here, and these are all used all the time. In fact, my father was just saying he saw on Facebook from a little town in Canby, Minnesota, where we were born, somebody in the town there got scammed by this friend and family member imposter. And this is where you receive a call or an email from somebody that appears to be legitimate because the scammer knows specific information about you, your family, or friends. So the way some of them work is they'll pretend to be a grandson on vacation in Mexico, and they were picked up by the Mexican police, and they need your help to get bailed out of jail. And to get them out of jail, they need $1,000 sent right away. And they aren't contacting their parents because they're too embarrassed. So they come after the grandmother or grandfather or some relative there, and they've looked on Facebook, gotten information, so they know the names of the people, who the parents are. They know that they're down in Mexico, maybe on if it's during spring break or something like that. They know where the person is, so it sounds kind of legitimate, except they're just trying to scam you there. So they trick you into believing that they are a friend or a family member, and they claim to need money for an emergency, maybe for posting bail. It may be that they were in a car accident and they have a hospital bill or a lawyer's fee, or they're being detained at the airport. Scammers pressure you to send money immediately. We need this immediately. Don't talk to anybody else. Don't do anything. Just send it as quick as you can there. And send it immediately through an online wire or other payment services. This is especially dangerous now because of artificial intelligence, or AI. You can make somebody's voice sound like a relative there. Or you may even send a picture, and that picture, maybe they got it off of Facebook and they superimposed it in a Mexican jail, and so it looks like this grandson or granddaughter is in a Mexican jail there, and so it can easily be faked. What you want to do, the tip here, is to contact your friends or family members directly to confirm the caller's story. So before you do anything, again, 99.9% of those types of calls are scams. They're just trying to get money out of you. Okay, another scam is what's called the IRS scam. You receive a phone call claiming to be the IRS and that you owe them money. They demand that you pay immediately or you're going to be arrested that day. So they build up that sense of urgency that you have to react right away, and the fear that most people don't want to get arrested. The tip here is the IRS never calls and demands money or gift cards. The IRS, if they do have a question on your income tax, always sends out mail. They do it by mail. They never give a call there. Okay, another scam, online dating. Scammers use online dating sites, social networks, chat rooms to meet potential victims, even sending out emails to people. They create a fake profile could be for a man or a woman, to build up a relationship, and eventually they request that you send them money due to a hardship. Gee, they'd like to visit you. They live in, let's say, New York City, but they don't have the money to fly out here. If you would just give them $200, then they would buy a plane ticket and fly out here. Well, again, this is a scam. Don't give personal information to people. Don't give account numbers. Don't send them your credit card information, especially if it's somebody that you just recently met online. Another one is online loan scams. This is beware of loan offers on social media or online ads. It usually is a scammer impersonating a loan company who is looking to empty your bank account once you share your financial data. So watch out for the warning signs, such as a lender demanding a prepaid debit card or pressuring you to act immediately. When applying for a loan, go to a trusted website instead of clicking on a link in an ad. Another one is what's called ransomware. You unknowingly download a type of malicious software. It could be a document that somebody sent you, or it could be a website you downloaded, and that infected your computer. This infecting of the computer starts encrypting your computer, which makes it unusable there unless you pay a blackmail fee to get back your data. So the software is designed to block access to your operating system and all your information and your PC until you pay a sum of money to a criminal. The tip there, back up your data by syncing your files to an external drive and things like that. This ransomware, it's not just private people that have been hit by it. If you'll recall, last year, the Minneapolis schools, a number of their schools were hit with this, and they had to pay several $1 million to get back some data that they didn't have backed up. Frequently, some of these companies fall for these scams or fall for the ransomware scams more so than private individuals, because a scammer knows that they can get a lot more money out of the St. Paul or Minneapolis public school than they can out of a private individual. They may only get a couple $100 or $1,000 out of an individual, whereas if it's like the Minneapolis school, they may get several $1 million out of them.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
About backing up in the front. Is there any way that could be automatic, that it's backed up without my making specific action?
Yeah, I'll repeat the question for the recording, and if people are watching it online on the TV, is there any way for the backup to be automatic and done so that you don't have to do anything? And Yes, there's a number of different ways that it can be done. I talked several months ago about organizing your files, and one of the tips I had, or the suggestion I had in organizing your files, is you store the files up on the cloud. And if you store the files up on the cloud, like in Microsoft OneDrive, Apple iCloud, Google Drive, those are the three big ones. If you store it up there, your data is backed up, and you don't have to worry about this if something happens to your laptop or your tablet or other things. Your data is safe there. So, but if you do have to keep or want to keep your files locally on your laptop, all of these services have software where you can set a schedule, and that schedule could be once a day, could be once a week, can be whenever you want, and it'll take the files that you have on your laptop and make sure they're backed up to the cloud there. So there are ways to back it up automatically and not have to worry. But nowadays, I wouldn't recommend that your system of record be on your local computer. I'd recommend that the files be stored up in the cloud somewhere, because then you can get at it from any device at any time, and it's backed up and versioned in that. Okay. Yeah, question?
What about using an SD chip to back your things up?
Yeah, the question was, so if you use an SD or an external hard drive, certainly you can back up. There are limitations to how effective that is. Over the years working with the 3M Club, I've known two people that had religiously backed up their data to flash drives and to SD and to external drives. They lived in a condo and an apartment. One apartment had a fire. The fire destroyed everything in there, along with their computer and their backups. So having that type of backup gave them a little bit of security, but didn't prevent a major catastrophe. The other one lived in a condo, and their backups were external drive and stuff like that, which was right next to their laptop. Well, the person that broke in took everything. You know, they aren't going to say, oh, I'm going to leave them the backup there. No, the person took everything. So there's different ways to back up, and you want to protect yourself. And I believe out there I've done a session on backup there, and there's what's called the 3-2-1 rule. You want to have 3 copies of your data. You want to have it on 2 different places, and you want to have, now I'm forgetting the 1, 3. I'd have to look at it, but it goes into kind of protecting yourself from all types of problems there. And the cloud nowadays fits in very well, and usually people don't have that many files, so you can back up to the cloud for free. Now, when we talk about things like photographs, that belongs in a different place, but if you're talking about Word files, word processing files, spreadsheets, things like that, people usually don't have more than 5 gigabytes of that data, which you can get free cloud storage for all of that. Okay, and look at the backup, or maybe we can have another presentation on backup if it's still popular there. Okay, another scam is what's called the lottery or sweepstakes scam. You receive a phone call, an email, or a letter stating that you've won a lottery or a sweepstakes. Scammers require you to pay a fee to receive the prize to avoid taxes or additional fees, or may even threaten to report you to the IRS or police if you don't make the requested payment. The tip here is legitimate lotteries pay their taxes directly, take out the taxes directly to the government rather than being reimbursed from the winner's proceeds. So That's, yeah, don't get caught in that. Another is a check or account deposit scam. Scammers send you a fake check and ask you to deposit it in your bank account. Make the deposit to your account. Once the money is deposited, you're asked to send back all or part of it back to the person who sent you the check. After you send the money back to that person, the check that they gave you bounces and their deposit is fraudulent because it can take up to 10 business days for the bank to check to see whether the amount that you put in and the bank that it references is actual, they actually have the money and is a valid account there. And what happens is, because it's your bank account, you are responsible for the full amount of the check you deposited and the associated check bouncing fees if it bounces. And like I mentioned, it can take up to 10 days for a check to be discovered as fraudulent and returned to your bank. This also happens with people in the old days. People would have cashier's checks. So if I was buying an automobile from you, I'd give you a cashier's check. Well, cashier's checks can be faked. They can be redeemed before they're valid. So even getting a cashier's check is no guarantee that the money is actually there. So you never want to deposit it into your bank and then give money back to the person who gave you the cashier's check. So one of the scams on Craigslist is, I'm going to buy a car and I'm selling the car for $2,000. Well, the guy says, I've got a $5,000 cashier's check, I'll send that to you. And you send me back a check for $3,000 because your car is only $2,000. So send me back a check for $3,000 because I gave you that check for $5,000. And people will do that thinking, well, at least I sold my car for $2,000 and I'm not losing anything, until that $5,000 check bounces and now they're responsible to the bank for the full $5,000. Okay, so lots of scams there. It's easy to feel that scams and threats are beyond hope, but don't give up hope. We'll cover some tips here. Be wary of any get-rich-quick schemes. If it sounds too good to be true, chances are it isn't, and it's a scam. If there's huge discounts, you'll see people with ads on the internet. You can buy something that normally sells for $500. Maybe it's a 85-inch TV you can buy for $49. If you click on here, well, again, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably isn't. And so anything, huge discounts, free prizes, fill out this survey and we're going to send you $100. Well, that's just to gather information from you. And then they'll say, well, yeah, to get your free $100, we need to deposit it in your bank account. So can you give us your bank account? And once they have the bank account, guess what? They aren't depositing money. They're withdrawing money out of your bank account. So if an offer seems too good to be true, it most likely is not. Watch for language that creates unnecessary urgency or action. Slow down. The biggest thing is you got to slow down. Their goal is to get you to act first without thinking it through carefully. Pause and think. Is this a scam? Don't send money or give your account information to anybody you don't know. Be wary of an unexpected request for a payment or a good or a service or a fee through any form of communication. Because like we talked about, it may come on the phone, it may come in an email, it may come from a website, it may come from a text message, it may come through the mail that you get. So it can come from all different places. Don't send money back to somebody who has provided you a check or an overpayment for goods or services. Use secure websites and apps for payments and shopping, and only with merchants you trust. So it's not worth saving yourself a few dollars using this obscure website or this obscure person. You're better off going through a reputable site that you can trust giving your account information to. Also, don't trust your caller ID or the email address. The names and numbers can be faked or spoofed. So on your caller ID, you may see it may show up and says the Social Security information is calling you. Well, it most likely is a scam there. And that's also true of an email address. I can send an email to any of you, and I can make it look like like Joe Biden sent it from whitehouse.gov, because that, where it came from, there's no validity in what's shown there. I can change it to say anything that I want in the world. So that's what scammers use, because they figure, oh, people will see the email address or the caller ID and they'll believe that it's from that address. This is another tip here. Keep security patches and antivirus software up to date on your computer, your internet browsers, and your mobile devices. I know people are bothered with their devices having to be updated, and you get messages that this is a new version and stuff like that out there. But it's you want to be loading those in a timely fashion, because most of those updates to the software are for fixing vulnerabilities that have been on your phone or on your computer there. So you want to keep things up to date. And this is don't automatically download any attachments. Be sure to turn off this setting. So there's settings within most of the emails to not download. If somebody sends you an attachment or a file, to not automatically download it. Because I only download stuff from people I know and people that I'm expecting something from them. If I get an email from somebody I don't know, I don't want it to automatically download it and cause a problem. Sure.
If you get an email with an attachment and you don't open it, is it still a danger that the attachment is there?
Yeah, the question was, if you get an email with an attachment, is it still dangerous that it's there? Depending on the setting that you have in your email, some of the email packages or programs that you use are automatically downloading it to your computer. So when you open up the email, it downloads it to your computer. That's usually a setting that you have to turn off to not download it, because it thinks it's saving you time and energy to download it. But with scams out there, you don't want to be downloading it, especially if you might be opening up an email that came from a scammer there.
You still know if you've got an attachment, if it's something you really trust?
Well, the question was, how do you know that you can trust them? Because I can send you an email and look like I came from a family member. So you wouldn't know that it came from a family member until it's probably too late. If it was a virus that I was doing, or I was taking over your computer, I would have taken over your computer, because you would have opened it up. You might have said, oh, it's a PDF file, and I clicked on it, and it's infected my computer there. Now, hopefully, if you have antivirus software, if you have some of this other protection, that other layers of protection would prevent it. But the best thing is not to download or open anything that you don't want. And that's nowadays, especially in business and that, what we say in business is don't send files back and forth to people, because that's just fraught with scammers can impersonate you and put bad software in there. So if you If you want to share a file with people, there's ways to share a photo. There's ways to share a document without physically sending them a file. So that would be the preferred way. Okay. Yes, Betty.
You see my computer. What comes up when I click an email? It's just the name of the date that it came. Is that downloaded yet, or is it downloaded as soon as I click on it? See what it says.
Yeah, what happens in a lot of the email packages that you use today is there's in order to show up on your list of email there, your computer, so you have a laptop, your laptop is going out to, if you're using Gmail or Hotmail or whatever mail service, it goes out and it downloads that information to your computer so that you can open it up and look at it. And so it has already started that process, and by default, if there's an attachment in there, it's downloaded that attachment to your computer in the background because it's trying to, you don't want to wait every time you click on stuff, so it's doing that automatically for you. You can turn off some of that stuff, but it's a case of, in general, a couple of things. You want to be careful what you click on, and usually, if it is a scam, it may go into your scam folder or be identified as scam. But if the person is a good scammer, they're impersonating people that you know. They're impersonating companies that you deal with. So some of them, you may get an email from Norton, and if you have Norton antivirus, people open that up, and scammers know that people open it up all the time. So all I have to do is I have to say, this is Norton, and we re-upped your deal for $29.99. If you don't want this, click on this link and change it. Well, they have you click on it, they'll have you put in your credit card information or your bank information, and now they've stole that. So it never did come from Norton. It never did come from this, but they know that there's a lot of people that use Norton. They know that there's a lot of people with U.S. Bank accounts and Huntington accounts. So they're sending out millions of these to people in the Twin Cities saying, your U.S. Bank account, we think it's been hacked, or we need more information to secure your account. People click on it because they go, I have a U.S. Bank account, so I better check this out. That's where you've got to be careful what you do in that. Yeah.
I mean, they're really sneaky. You bring up Norton, and I found out that my Norton was just about to run out. I found out afterwards, but I got an email and it listed Norton. And then they said, well, if you think this might not be accurate, or you're concerned about whether this is safe, call this number. I just thought they're evil. They're evil.
Yeah, they're sneaky, and they know all the tricks. Get people a sense of urgency to react, and nobody wants extra charges or thinks that security may be a problem, and so they click on things or they use the telephone number in the email. Well, if you slowed down a little bit and you thought, okay, I paid the bill, or maybe I have it on reoccurring payment and that, why am I getting this notice? I shouldn't be getting this notice. But they send it out to 1 million people knowing that, maybe half of those people don't have Norton, so they'll completely disregard it. But right away, we've got 500,000 people that are opening it up and starting to read it. And of those, maybe 50 or 100 people might click on it and give account information. Well, if they can get several $100s from a person without doing anything, didn't cost them anything to send out 1 million emails, there's no person sitting there doing stuff, so they can literally be making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. with very little effort. And they're going to be as sneaky as they can be to get you to do these things.
Well, and to create the urgencies that we have billed $399 to your charge.
Yeah.
And
And we've noticed
that's
fraudulent activity, or it can look like, let's say you have a Google account and you get an email that says, we think that your Google account has been hacked. We've noticed suspicious activity. Click on here to do stuff. Well, again, how do you know that that came from Google, or did it come from a scammer? You all have to ask that question, and don't just click on a link there. Use another form. So if I have a US bank account, I have an app on my phone, or on my browser, I have a link on my browser to go out to my US bank. I go out using that. Never click on their stuff, because again, it can be a scam, and most likely is a scam to try and get you there. Yeah.
Is it true that you can hover your mouse over an email address and it will show you the real email address? So it looks like it's google.com, but you hover your mouse over it, it will show something completely different. And then you know it's a scam.
No, because what you have in your email, so this is an example of the email. This is what shows up here. So I can hover over here and it'll say this is the name and this is supposedly who it came from. But as a scammer or as a hacker, I can make that say anything that I want. I can make it say Joe Biden at whitehouse.gov. Because there is no security saying that this is the actual person or email that sent this. The way that the whole email system is set up in the internet, you don't pay for like a phone, you pay for a phone call. Your phone number is registered somewhere. Emails, I can go out and create 1,000 emails, and there's no following back to make sure that it actually came from here.
So hovering your mouse over that email address won't show what the real address is.
No, because there's a ton of information about this email that is what's called metadata in there. I can change all of that metadata. I can say that it was sent out 10 years ago. I can change who it was sent out from. I can change all of the information. I could make it look like it was sent out in the future, 100 years in the future. That doesn't mean that it was sent out 100 years in the future, but that data, don't trust it unless you trust, the content there. But hackers and scammers can change anything. The other thing that I think you're talking about is if I hover over this picture, you'll see in the bottom left-hand corner, that'll show where it's actually going if I click on it. So if you see, let me go, I'll get here because then it'll stay there. Come on, mouse, stay there. Let me get it there. So right now I'm over here. When I click on it, this is where it's going to go. This is the whole string of stuff that is sent to the server. Now this is the valid site. This is the newspaper article that I get. What it is that anything after the question mark here is data about me. It's sending that data back to the people that created this email, telling them that Tom Kreuzer has clicked on it, and it was part of this ad promotion at this time. So there's information you can check and see where it's actually going, but even that, you can redirect it and do some bad things there. Let's see, we'll continue on, and maybe if we don't address, we'll talk at the end there. Never give your control or your control to your computer to anyone who contacts you. So if somebody calls you up and says, I'm from Apple or I'm from Microsoft and we've noticed that your computer, do this, never give them control. Here again, I say don't rely on caller ID. I can make that caller ID say anything in the world, just like the email. You can't believe what's in there. I could say the White House is calling you. That doesn't mean the White House is calling you. It means that I use special software to call you where I can put in any number that I want or any email in there that I want. So as I mentioned here, scammers can spoof the name of the company or the name that the email or the caller ID is coming from. Never pay or donate using a gift card, a prepaid card, Zelle, Venmo, or cryptocurrency. If they're asking for that, most likely it's a scam. And these are payment methods which are very difficult to get your money back. So once you send money to this scammer, you might as well wave goodbye because nobody's going to be able to get it back there. And that's why the banks, even though the banks, your Zelle and your Venmo, are actually going through your bank account, but unlike a credit card or a debit card where if you have a problem, you can go back to your bank, Zelle or Venmo will tell you, good luck. Once you send it, only send money to people that you know and people that you trust. Because if you send it to anybody else, the bank can't undo the transaction and give you your money back. Protect your passwords and create strong passwords that are different for each site and each app. Change them routinely. Never reuse old ones. Use strong passwords that should be impossible for a hacker to guess. Never use a family name, a phone number, birth dates, or other social info that can be found on Facebook or other sources. So some of the sites, like your bank, will have what's called challenge questions. Those challenge questions were, where were you born? What was the name of your high school? Well, that's where you see some of these scammers go out to Facebook and they'll ask these surveys, asking people 20 questions about themselves. Well, they're gathering information that they could use to hack into your accounts for these challenge questions. So it's very dangerous there. Use it, I recommend, and you've heard me before, we've talked about Password Manager. I recommend a password manager called Bitwarden. It's free. It's available on all devices. So if you have an Apple device or an Android device or a laptop or a desktop, it's available on all devices for free. If all you have are Apple devices, yes, then you could use the Apple Password Manager or that. But a lot of people nowadays have a mix of different devices, and you want a device or you want a password manager that works on all of these devices because you don't want to have two password managers. You only want to have one password manager that you use on all of them. And yeah, so that's that. Enable two-factor authentication, where you will use a secondary form of authentication like a text message, a phone call, an authentication app. And you maybe have heard Apple came out with like their Apple Passkey just in the last few months. That's a new option there. Or email to do that second form of authentication. It's especially important for your financial and banking sites. Use a mobile-based payment system like Apple Pay or Android Pay, which is more secure than using a physical credit card. So if you use a physical credit card, you're having to take it out all the time, and potentially the numbers on here can be gotten and stolen, whereas if you use these other mobile payments, they can't be. It can't be stolen there. So it's much more secure there. If you're dealing with some of the online sites, if you're using PayPal, PayPal, use that instead of providing individual credit cards to like eBay or different merchants that you're buying things from. Watch your credit card and bank statements for unexpected charges and payments. Turn on alerts and notifications from your bank, your brokerage, your credit cards. So this is an example down here in the corner. Every time I use my credit card, I get a notification on my phone that it's been used and what the amount is. So immediately I know if something's up and somebody has taken or has my number and is starting to make charges there. Most will let you set a transaction limit, so you may not want to see every charge that you make, but maybe every charge over $50 or $100 or that, you can usually pick what notification you're going to get. Okay, another one, you can request one free credit report a year from the 3 credit services that are out there. If you're not familiar, there's 3 credit services in the United States, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, and you can request information, and that'll let you identify unusual activity, or if somebody was requesting new credit cards or that, and having them go to a different address, you'd see that on there. And so you can keep track of new accounts, and that's all. You can do that for free, and you get 3 requests for each of them there. The other thing you can do with your credit card, if you're not familiar, is those 3 services, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. You can do what's called freezing your account. Freezing your account means that somebody cannot open a brand new credit card or couldn't go to the bank and get a mortgage once you freeze it. So personally myself, I'm not getting new mortgages that often, and I'm not getting new credit cards, so I freeze these accounts, which makes it impossible for a hacker or a scammer to create a new credit card there. And it doesn't cost you anything to do it. It's just when you, if you do need to create a new credit card, or you do buy a new, let's say a new automobile, then you have to unfreeze it for that credit check to take place. But don't worry about that. There's easy ways to turn it on or off. You can also check to see whether you've had your information stolen. There's sites like Have I Been Pawned? Pawned is an internet slang term used to describe defeat. It provides a comprehensive list of major data breaches. So let's quickly go out here if I can. And this will ask you to put in your email address. So I'll put in, this is my main email address. Good. So it goes out and it checks to see whether there's information out on the dark web for sale about this email address. And this has been out there. It's out there. There's been 8 data breaches where this email has been involved with. And it tells you the different data breaches here. And there's very few emails. So almost everybody in the room, if we check to see whether your email has been involved in a data breach and information is available out on the dark web, 99% of you would have been involved with it. And so there's various, some of it isn't passwords. It may just be your phone number. It may just be your home address. If you contributed to a political organization, maybe the political organization was hacked and they lost so much information. Or you were a parent of a student in the Minneapolis school district. They've been hacked numerous times. Information is out there on the dark web on that. And so this will let you know. You can see I'm not really worried that stuff is out there because I do use a password manager. I do change my passwords. So if you're doing that, if they have an old password that I used a year ago or 2 years ago, it doesn't do them any good. They can't get into my accounts. They can't do anything. So checking on that is good to see, but you also want to do these other tips of changing passwords and things like that. This is Google Chrome, also has a setting there where you can do a password checkup. You can sign up, you've probably seen credit monitoring services that you can pay a monthly fee for, and they'll send you emails and alert you to suspicious activity. So you can get things like LifeLock, different ones run from $10 to $30 a month. But actually you can do most of this yourself using these free services that are out there, the free credit monitoring and stuff like that. So if you do want that, you can use that. Here I say make sure that you have an antivirus installed and updated and configured. Keep your operating system and apps updated. So whether it's an Apple or a Microsoft or an Android phone, you want there to be updates and you want to be up to date because the old versions have vulnerabilities. For your tablet or phone, never download apps from outside of the Google Play Store or the Apple Store because some people will get emails that'll say, click on this to download this useful app onto your phone. Well, it can, again, be a scam there where they're infecting your phone or infecting your computer there. Be mindful of every app that you install and what permissions you give it. So especially on phones and tablets, I know it's a lot of people don't like those pop-ups saying, do you want to give it permission? Do you want to, and you really do have to take an active role in there and don't give permission to apps that shouldn't have permission. An example there is a number of the weather apps to give you the weather forecast there would ask for permission to your photographs or your contacts. There's no reason in the world that a weather app needs access to your contacts. And if you give them access to your contacts, they could extract all your contacts and get the information. Here I mentioned encrypt your laptop and use a password to log on. Assume text and SMS messages, this is texting and emails, are public. Do never send a password, a social security number, or any confidential information in any of these systems. If security is needed, there are encrypted secure apps and sites and services to send stuff. So if you're dealing with your bank will specifically usually tell you to log into their website, go out to this deal, and upload the document or whatever you are transferring back and forth with them. They don't want you sending it through public email where essentially anyone might be able to look at that and gather information off of it. Public Wi-Fi networks like a coffee shop or a doctor's office are public and may expose personal information like IDs and passwords. And that's also here at Carondelet. If you're using the guest, which most people are, the guest Wi-Fi, that's an unsecured Wi-Fi. And depending on the sites that you're going out to, hackers or that may be able to see your IDs and passwords. If you use, here I mentioned, if you use a public or Carondelet PC, log off when you're done and finished and close the browser completely. Otherwise, you leave yourself logged in. And I've seen people do that with their email. That means the next person can come in there. They could completely read your email because you haven't logged off there. Use an email account like Gmail that notifies you when your account has been used on a new device. If it wasn't you, you can immediately change your password and block that device. consider a new email. I have multiple emails, one that I use for my main accounts, another that I use for signing up for some sites that I don't really care about there, so I don't have to give my main email out to everybody. Phone scams, there's block numbers, hang-ups, never give account information, never send money. Facebook, don't give, limit the number of friends that you have on Facebook. I know a number of people like to have a lot of friends, and whenever they get a request, they just automatically add the person in. I tend not to do that. Keep a close, keep your friends close, and I don't recommend liking everybody, because once you like them, you're letting them have access to any information that you put out on Facebook. So if you put your birthday out there, if you put where you went to high school, if you put all this stuff, you're giving all that information to everybody. Share less of your personal information on social media. Browsers, you can limit tracking in that by using the private or incognito mode that you can find on most browsers. There also is a virtual private network that can be added to protect your privacy, especially when you're on public Wi-Fi. There's free versions and there's paid versions out there. They always say if you're not paying for the site or the app or the service, then you are the product. So these sites are gathering information about you and in a lot of cases selling it. Most cell phone plans will alert you to scam likely or potential scam for unknown phone calls. Let the call go to voicemail in most cases, and if it's important, then you can return it if it was from a number that you don't have in your contacts. Never assume the number or the voicemail is real. So if the voicemail says, we're from Social Security, we need to validate your account information, we tried to deposit your recent Social Security check into your bank account. Can you give us the bank account information? No, you don't want to do that. You'd never want to give out that information. Delete old accounts and apps that you no longer use. Be cautious at downloading browser extensions and delete ones that you no longer use. I covered the last things pretty fast there because we're at the end of the hour, but I'll stay here and take questions for people. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, I have a Windows 7, and so there's no updates. They do have, I think it's micro trend through Best Buy, the mail order. But I was just wondering, how far can people, like, I'm basically chit-chatting with my friends on my computer. Can bad guys get into my friends, like Jane Doe's account? Can they go that deep into
Yeah, I'll try and summarize the question there. You have a computer that currently has Windows 7 on. What I would say there is immediately stop using it. And the reason for that is when an operating system is no longer getting updated, and Windows 7 stopped getting updated 2.5 years ago or so, there are vulnerabilities in the operating system, and those vulnerabilities mean if you turn on that computer and it's connected to the internet, in a lot of cases, without you opening up an email or clicking on anything, there's ways for hackers to connect into your computer. So they have programs that run 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and are constantly looking for these vulnerable computers, because I can send out an address to everybody in the United States. I can go through and I can try and connect there, and I can see what kind of machine they have. When I see a machine, I make a list of that machine and I sell it on the dark web. And people buy that information because now they have a machine, and then somebody's going to go back and say, oh, I hope this is a school or some company that's doing it because they get more money out of them. But even if it isn't, they can say, okay, I'm I'm going to infect it with a ransomware, and maybe I'll get $100 or I'll get $500 off of the person, and they'll steal everything that's on there. So you don't want to be using stuff that isn't getting updated. And I know people want to use their technology as long as they can, but all of these devices, if you have an Apple iPhone, if you have an Android, if you have a tablet, if you have a laptop, you have an operating system on there. At some point, the company is no longer updating your operating system. They're only updating it on the newer devices. So even though the device still works, you're best to buy a new device there. And because the longer that you use it, or when you use it and it is vulnerable, bad things can happen there. And you won't even know it. That's the scary thing as the thing. So it's scary out there. Yeah, question?
I don't know if this is directly related, but I've read a number of articles in the paper about the post office scams, that if you mail a check in the mail, I don't know, somebody gets them in the mail and then they take it and they have a certain kind of consideration and then they do the check as to who it's for and how much it's for. And I don't know what the alternative is. I know you can go to some sites and use credit card numbers, but I'm not enthused about that either. And one thing they said is maybe it's safer if you go to the post office and mail these things. But that's not even for sure if there's a post office person that's in on the scam. Are you aware of that, or any suggestions about that?
Yeah, what you're talking about with the post office, there's a bunch of scams with the mail and that. The one is if you leave mail out there to be picked up by your postal carrier, somebody might come along and grab it. If they grab it, there's techniques now like you were talking about, where let's say you were paying your Excel bill, and they'll take that check and they can do what's called washing. They can wash off the amount and who it was paid to and change it to anything that they want. So they may get access that way. They also at that point have your account numbers, because on your check is your account numbers. So in general, you don't want to have any of your mail, outgoing mail that contains any checks out there for somebody that somebody could steal. And that stealing could happen at your mailbox. So if you just clipped it to the side and somebody did that, one of the current way that scammers work is even blue boxes that you put things in. All I have to do is I have to take a yardstick and put some sticky stuff on the end, and when nobody's around, I just fish down there and I pull it out. So now the U.S. Post Office, if you go down to like Elway or stuff like that, they're changing all of their mailboxes so that people can't break into them that way. But ideally, checks and things like that, if you can pay your bills online, that's going to be a lot safer than sending a check.
What if I want to have some charities or different organizations I want to send money to? So they're not bills.
Some of the charities will have a website out there where you can use a credit card to donate and that. The credit card as a mechanism to pay is safe, fairly safe, because at any time if you so a scammer gets your credit card number and makes a charge, you can dispute that charge at any time. So you get. Well, you have to prove that it's not you, and so if If, for an example, there was a charge out in California, and I haven't been in California, that's an easy one to get reversed. Some of the others, you have to prove that it wasn't you there. And usually what they're going to do there is they're going to issue you a new number, which is kind of painful if you've got automatic. But that's more secure than a Venmo or cash or a gift card. A gift card and these other ways, you can never get the money back there. A credit card, you can always dispute, and if you've got the evidence, you will 100% all the time get your money back.
Now, are you familiar with, our mail security? Is they're relatively safe?
Yeah, your mail system, could somebody grab mail out of there? It's not as safe as it could be because, again, the people that are really persistent there, if you have the right tool, you can kind of fish the stuff out. And so the new way that these mailboxes are being designed is kind of like if you remember the old ring clothes dryer, or not dryer, but wring the water out, where it goes through rollers and that, multiple rollers. That's what they're kind of putting into the new mailboxes. So when you put in a mail, it will let an envelope go through fine, no problem. But if you are trying to have a pickup device to grab stuff out of there, it can't go through. It won't go through. So they're trying to make it more secure, but if you can not use it, you'd be better off there.
Now, but here, cards, the post office is that, and from the village have to pay for your mailbox inside the village.
Carondelet would have to do that because those boxes and that is inside. Now, you have an extra level of protection insofar as somebody would have to get into Carondelet to be able to do anything to your post office boxes. And so it's unlike out in the public there where somebody comes by at night or there's a mailbox on the corner at night, and in some cases they've stole the whole mailbox. If it's a busy area, they've stole the whole mailbox and that. But so your chances of something happening inside here are a lot smaller. Down at the Elway post office, they have numerous break-ins down there. That's why they've changed the deal there, and they recommend people don't mail outside, that they bring the mail inside and hand it to the people inside, and don't just drop it off using your car and dropping it in.
So, in a way, you would consider it relatively safe.
If you go inside the post office, yes. Yeah. It's the outside that has these old mailboxes and have vulnerabilities, and certainly if you, the old corner blue boxes that you see around, you potentially have issues there. Yeah. I can, yeah, because it does change, and it's a case of kind of reinforcing. I think the more people hear it and are exposed to it, and what I've said before, even like with the AI, I talked about be a doubting Thomas. You want to be a doubting Thomas on this too. So if a scam, whether it's a telephone call, whether it's an email, whether it's a text message, don't get caught up in the urgency that they're trying to do, because they're trying to get you so that you don't think rationally, that you just panic and oh, my account's been hacked, or my bank account, it says that somebody's trying to break in. Well, no, they're really not trying to break in. They're just trying to get you to that urgency to where you'll call them up and give them your phone number. And I've known people that have had the two-factor authentication for their bank. which should make it very secure. But what happens is they think they're calling US Bank, and US Bank is saying, we're gonna check your account now. So hang on the line here, I'm gonna put in your account information. You're gonna get a text message on your phone. Repeat the number back to me. And people repeat the number back to them. They don't think that, gee, US Bank shouldn't have to know the account. They should have a way of getting into the account. But they repeat that number. As soon as the hacker or scammer has that, they have access to your bank account because there was two-factor authentication, but you just authenticated it for the hacker there.
Well, AI and I are actually okay.
But scams in general, anywhere you see that sense of urgency, whether it's the family scam, we were just in a car accident and can you help me out? I don't want to talk to mom and dad.
Well, and interestingly enough, I've had a few friends that have been tricked that way. That's really. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Hey, you're welcome to leave. I know I'm after, but I'll stay and answer any questions that people have. Okay. Well, thanks for coming, and we'll see you next month there.